Introduction to Childcare for the Busy Parent. If you're listening to this guide, then you are likely listening for a no-nonsense approach to childcare. Whether you're a parent whose partner is frequently on the road or one that works late, you are probably among the thousands of other parents looking for a way to spend more quality time with your children. Finding good childcare for your children is hard enough. Finding quality time to spend with your children is even harder. Fortunately, there are answers. This guide is dedicated to parents that are busy, people who want and need to find time to stay involved in their child's life even when they are away, people that need solid information on daycare, childcare, and general care for their children. This guide is the ideal resource for any parent that is busy, time-crunched, and short on ideas about how to spend more time with their children. It offers practical and uncomplicated tips and advice to parents who are on the go. What makes this guide unique is that it allows you to investigate unique methods of staying involved in your child's life, even when you aren't home. Spending time with your child is important. The more time you have with your child, the better chance your child will grow into a contributing, happy, and healthy member of society. Children need our guidance. They need our support and our compassion, regardless of how much time we think we have to spend with them. Far too many people think spending time with their children requires their actual presence. We're going to show you how you can spend more time with your children and how to be more involved with their lives even when you are away. So stop worrying about your busy schedule. We're going to help you manage your schedule and your life so you do have more time to spend with your children. You don't have to sacrifice the quality of care they get to realize your goals. Would you like to hear a sneak peek of everything you're going to learn? Well, here's a rundown of the chapter summaries. Chapter 1, When Both Parents Work. Studies suggest most families these days are working families, meaning one or both parents have to work. When this happens, what do you do? Do you hire a nanny, invest in a daycare center, or try babysitting? In this guide, you'll find practical advice on childcare. Included is an overview of the various forms of childcare available, as well as the cost and tips for selecting the best choice for your family. Chapter 2, Practical Tips for Parents. Chapter 2 is a no-nonsense approach to parenting that allows you to discover ways to bond with your children, even when you are away from home. It doesn't matter if you work or travel. It is important you spend time with your children. Here's how to do it, using simple, easy strategies. Chapter 3, Tips for the Forgotten Spouse. Does your partner frequently travel? Many parents find it very difficult to cope with the demands of parenting and work when their partner is frequently on the road. Here's how you can make up for lost time in your partner's absence. Avoid the forgotten parent syndrome by adopting these simple, time-honored strategies and rituals. Chapter 4, How to Stay in Touch with Your Child During School. Many parents find working impedes their ability to attend all school functions. How do smart parents cope and adapt? How do they find ways to participate in their children's schooling? It really is much easier than you think. Just follow these simple tactics. Chapter 5, When Your Child Feels Forgotten. Have you ever missed a birthday or had to work on a holiday? Many parents worry their children will feel neglected. This chapter will provide you with tips to help your children understand you still love them, even when you're not home all the time. Do you bribe them with gifts to make them forget your absence? Answers to your most burning questions right here in one easy-to-find audio. Chapter 1, When Both Parents Work. Selecting childcare for your family. Studies suggest most families these days are working families, meaning one or both parents have to work. When this happens, what do? Do you hire a nanny, invest in a daycare center, or try babysitting? What you do need to do is to find quality and affordable care for your children. For many, this task is difficult given the high cost of quality childcare today. While many parents struggle with the idea of putting their child in daycare or some childcare setting, the reality is more than 60% of children are in some type of childcare setting. In fact, studies, including those supplied by the National Child Care Information Center and American Academy of Pediatrics, suggest more than 70% of parents who work must place their children in some type of childcare setting. How do you select the right kind of childcare among the many choices available? This chapter covers the basic types of childcare available for busy parents. From this list, you can clearly see the advantages and disadvantages of each type of care and assess how well each form of care will fit with your budget. Here are some initial steps you should take when undertaking your search for good child care services for your children. Number 1. First, talk to other parents you know and find out what types of care they use or have tried and how well they work for them. The best way to find competent caregivers is by referral. Find out if your employer sponsors any dependent care programs, after-school programs, or provides referrals to a child care program. Many child care facilities are located next to large companies. Be aware, however, that these centers often have a long wait to get in, so if you are interested, put in an application early. Prepare to visit each child care center, provider, or home that you plan to consider. You'll need to review their work environment, meet the staff, and even talk with other parents about the provider's schedule, abilities, and advantages. Number 4, prepare to analyze your budget and fit child care into your monthly budget or expense allocation. Once you take these small baby steps, then you can start considering the different types of care available. Types of child care services. The good news is, if you need good child care, service centers abound these days. There are many types of care available to families, ranging from independent centers to private caregivers. It's important you realize the advantages and disadvantages of each so you can decide which is best for your children. Each of the choices provided include an overview of the type of care offered, short review of the advantages and disadvantages, and price estimates for your consideration. Private care, nannies, and babysitters. Private care is sometimes referred to as in-home care. It involves an individual coming to your home to provide you with care. Shows like The Nanny and Nanny 911 are making private caregivers more popular. Many parents consider hiring a live-in or live-out nanny to help them with child care. This is a good choice for young children and children that need close supervision. Some families with multiple children prefer this choice. If you want to get to know the person caring for your child well, a private nanny may be a good choice. Many parents also hire babysitters intermittently as children providers, so consider babysitters private care providers as well. Is there a difference between a sitter and a nanny? Many parents feel confused when talking about a sitter compared with a nanny. Is there really a difference? Well, it actually depends on who you talk to. Some parents consider a nanny and a babysitter one and the same. That said, there are many parents that prefer labeling their private caregiver a nanny and expect a little bit more out of them. Some parents report they typically associate the term babysitter with someone a little bit younger, a student or neighbor's older child that acts more as a mommy's helper or helps out with the children part-time. Many parents define nanny as someone who engages children in more developmental activities that encourage their gross motor, fine motor, and speech development. They may require a nanny tidy the house and participate in routine activities. An individual working as a private caregiver as their profession likely much prefers to be called a nanny more than a babysitter. Keep this in mind when you hire someone. If you plan to have someone come on a regular basis, you are much better off using nanny or mother's helper than babysitter. The last thing you want is to offend your caregiver. Here are some points to consider when exploring private care for your children. Private care is good for parents who want to live in or live out nanny alternative. The cost varies widely for private caregivers, with some parents paying $5 to $6 an hour for a young sitter or mother's helper, and others paying up to $15 an hour or more. Many parents pay a base rate and then $1 to $3 extra for each additional child. One-on-one and personal care is a mighty big advantage of using a private caregiver. Many parents actually prefer having someone in their home where their children are most comfortable. There is also less risk your children will have to stay home because they are sick. The biggest con is if your caregiver is sick and you do not have a backup helper. You don't have anyone to watch your children. Many also find private care a little bit too expensive. Some note children with private caregivers may get less social interaction than children in a group care or daycare sitters. If you do decide to go with private care, you'll want to set up a routine or schedule with your children. Make sure your caregiver routinely offers meals and nap times at regular intervals to keep your children happy, safe, and healthy. Talk to your caregiver about things they can do to keep your children actively engaged. Also, it's vital that you check to make sure a private caregiver comes with a good reference. While most daycare facilities have rules, policies, and regulations in place and are frequently subject to restrictions and oversight, remember there is no one keeping tabs on a private caregiver. You want to make sure the person caring for your children is trustworthy, reliable, and, most important, safe. This is a case where you should go with your gut instinct. If you're not comfortable with someone, stay away. Traditional daycare center. The most popular category of care is a traditional daycare center. This is often a good choice for parents with children ranging in age from several months to 6 years old. Some daycare centers also accept newborn infants. Here are some considerations and pointers when looking at various centers. Prices vary widely from center to center. You may pay anywhere from $3,000 to $25,000 every year for each child, depending on the hours your child is enrolled and the number of children you have. Typically, however, the cost is more than a home-based or family daycare center. For many, this is the least expensive choice, unless, of course, you have multiple young children under age 2 or 3. These centers provide continual care, so you don't have to worry about your caregiver getting sick. Usually, someone can fill in if this does happen. The other side of the coin is children often get sick in daycare centers. If your child is sick, they will have to stay home depending on the severity of their illness. If you have more than one child in the center, you may find you have one child home on one or more days of the week. Many parents balance this out a little bit with the fact that once their children start school, they'll get sick anyway. Many believe daycare helps build their children's immunity system and exposure to common childhood illnesses, preventing problems later on in life. Sometimes the quality of care in centers varies. Centers with a higher than average rate of turnover may not provide consistent care for your children. Unfortunately, with quality care often comes a very high price tag. In many major metropolitan centers, the cost of care is exorbitant. Many parents spend between 10 to 30% of their income just on daycare alone. Many also report daycare cost more than their monthly rent expenses, totaling the highest monthly expense for homeowners or families. Most daycare centers offer structure and routine. Your child will have the advantage of enjoying structured playtime, developmental activities, and be able to socialize with other children in their age group. The best way to evaluate a care center is to drop in a couple of times without notice. Your daycare center should have an open door policy. Ask if you can get references from other families that use the center continuously. Also, be sure the center keeps to a respectable child-to-staff member ratio. Very important. Each state has a child-to-staff member ratio your care center must adhere to, and this might, for example, be 3 infants to 1 staff member for baby rooms. Typically, the number of children per staff member increases as children age. In-home daycare centers. In-home child care is also like a traditional daycare center. These family-based centers usually manage a maximum number of children. A home center is nothing more than a private caregiver offering daycare services from their private residence. You may know of a family center in your neighborhood or a friend that watches several children for a fee. The same concept applies. Many find these are great choices for toddlers and preschoolers who need less supervision. Here are a couple of points to consider when reviewing family-based childcare. These centers usually charge less than traditional daycare centers, with the cost of care ranging from $2,000 to $18,000 a year for each child. Remember, though, there are no hard and fast rules on pricing. Pricing information is based on averages from reports from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and multiple national agencies that routinely collect information on daycare centers and experiences from parents who routinely use daycare. You'll have to contact independent providers in your area for a much better estimate on pricing. Many find the home environment more comfortable and prefer the less sterile environment offered in most traditional centers. The benefits like traditional daycare include more socialization for your children. Some children find they enjoy having access to a home and a backyard to play in. Like having a private caregiver, if your family provider gets sick, you may lose daycare for a couple of days. Also, not all home daycare centers are licensed. Even those that are may not be monitored as closely as a traditional daycare center. This means you want to take extra care to check references and assure the reliability of a daycare provider. If you do decide to use a family-based center, ask your neighbors, friends, and relatives for references. Have your child try visiting a couple of times to see if they're comfortable in the home environment. And remember, like a private caregiver, your home-based provider may get sick or be unavailable at times when you need them. You'll have to have a backup sitter or plan if this happens. If you have plenty of family in town to help, this may not be an issue for you. Still, another issue with home-based care centers is the provider's references and background. You must select a person with verifiable credentials and a history of watching and caring for children safely. You should also interview the family-based provider to find out what meals they provide children with, whether they provide developmental activities, and how many children they watch at one time. Sometimes private centers operating from the home don't adhere to the same ratios recommended by state officials. The good news? Most home-based caregivers have stricter ratios than traditional daycare centers. Look for a provider that follows the recommended guidelines to make sure that your child is getting the care they need and the individual attention they need. What is a good staff to child ratio? Most states provide guidelines traditional daycare centers have to follow. These guidelines vary, but most recommend no more than 3 to 4 infants for each staff member and no more than 5 to 6 children under 2 per caregiver. The ratio goes up for preschoolers, ranging from 6 to 7 preschoolers ages 3 to 5 per caregiver in most states. However, these rates vary widely and may be as high as 1 caregiver to every 10 children in some areas. Want more information on ratios? Check out the following: American Academy of Pediatrics, HealthyChildCare.org, National Resource Center for Health and Safety in Child Care and Early Education, nrc.uchsc.edu, preschool or pre-kindergarten. While many parents of young children and preschoolers use some of the choices just mentioned, a preschool is another choice. Some refer to this as pre-K or nursery school. There are many types of preschools catering to children between ages of 3 and 5 or 3 and 6, depending on whether or not your child starts kindergarten. The rates associated with preschools vary tremendously. If you find a preschool affiliated with a religious organization, you'll likely pay less than a preschool associated with a private organization or method like Montessori. Here are a couple of tips for finding a good preschool. Most preschools charge between $3,000 to $11,000 or more for children. Some programs, including those with a Montessori theme, may be a little bit higher. The price may rise significantly for private programs in large metropolitan areas. That said, caring for preschoolers is usually more affordable for care offered for infants and young babies. Preschools typically provide many developmental activities and actively engage children, preparing them for kindergarten. This is a great way to introduce your child to other children if you haven't yet used any formal daycare or other care for your child. Many preschools are like mini schools, where the organization hosts parent and teacher events and family get-togethers. These events and opportunities give busy moms and dads time to meet other parents, share stories, learn more about their children's growth and development, and even spend time with their children and their children's new friends. The con is many preschools have varying schedules. Some only provide care in the mornings, while others only provide care a couple of days a week. This can be really tricky if you need to work around a full-time work schedule. You may have to find other care, like an in-home nanny, to help balance out your schedule. You may even have to find a couple of centers to work with your busy schedule. Look around for a center offering some flexibility, or one willing to work with a challenging schedule. If your child has never attended daycare, family-based care, or had many babysitters, preschool is a great way to help them socialize with other children and get used to more routines and scheduling prior to starting school. What are co-op nurseries? Co-op, or cooperative care nurseries and schools, are programs where teachers and families come together to provide exceptional care for your children. They are excellent alternatives for parents that have flexible schedules and want to be involved in their child's development. A cooperative nursery or school typically requires parents to donate time once or twice a month or more to help serve as a staff member. In exchange, their child may attend care, and the rates are as much as 50% less than that of traditional daycare centers in many cases. There are some cons or limits for some parents. For one, many cooperative nurseries are affiliated with certain religious organizations a family may or may not relate with. However, many don't affiliate or ascribe to one belief system, making them a great choice for many parents. Still, Others don't offer care 5 days a week. So, like some preschools, you may have to find alternate care for your children on certain days or certain hours during the week. If, however, you want to really get involved in your child's development, these schools provide an excellent way to network with other families and participate hands-on in your child's care and development. Care for school-age children. Care for a school-age child varies from state to state. Most consider child care for children after school or after-school care. This care typically covers children age 6 and older, or those attending kindergarten through high school. Many parents look for after-school programs to keep their children safe and entertained until they return from work, especially if both parents work full-time. Most after-school programs encourage children to actively engage in sports and other organized activities, which helps prevent latchkey children or children getting into trouble after school. These programs should provide children supervision, but also plenty of engaging and fun activities after a long day of education and learning. Some programs are limited and very structured, while others actually encourage mixed-age education. You should look for a program that encourages children to take an active role in deciding activities. For example, an after-school program that offers multiple activities is much better than one with a strict schedule all children must adhere to. This may seem too much like work for many children. Most other school centers or programs cost $2,000 a year on up, depending on the number of children and hours you need care for. You may find several free programs or programs that exchange sitting duties like a cooperative nursery. If your child is involved in sports, you may be able to trade duties and work a flexible schedule to minimize costs associated with care. Some families look for a family-based care, especially if offered by someone in their neighborhood. Check out your local parenting agencies. Talk with other parents in your area. Find out what alternatives may be available for you. Remember, structured and caring support after school is really important for children. It provides them guidance, support, and directories. It also helps prevent them from getting into mischief or trouble. Well, let's talk a little bit about Montessori. Now, Montessori isn't so much a type of childcare as it is a philosophy. You may find childcare or daycare centers that ascribe to Montessori principles. What is Montessori, and how may your children benefit? Montessori is a child care philosophy many schools and daycare centers adopt. Montessori programs are great for busy moms and dads interested in expanding their involvement in their children's lives and their children's development. It encourages parents to take a unique approach to raising children from infancy through adulthood. The idea is you observe children's needs across various cultures and ethnicities. Developed by Dr. Maria Montessori, this approach focuses on children's natural learning development and tendencies as children grow. Programs featuring a Montessori education highlight learning activities that children choose. That means under a teacher or staff member's guidance, children are actually able to select from various activities. Learning occurs in mixed-aged groups, including children age 0 to 3 or 3 to 6, for example, or 6 to 9, and so on. Montessori can continue through children's early teen years. For more information about Montessori programs in your area, you can access the Association Montessori International, AMI, at montessori-ami.org or the United States branch at montessori-ami.org/AMIUSA/AMIUSA.htm. Each of these sites provides guidance and principles about Montessori education and accredited institutions offering Montessori education throughout the world. Good centers from bad centers. As a busy parent, you want the best for your child. You want to make sure you find a source of childcare that ultimately ensures your child's health and well-being. How do you differentiate a quality center or caregiver from a substandard source of care? Here are a couple of tips for ensuring you get the best care for your children. Look for a center that provides developmentally appropriate toys, equipment, or learning activities for your children. All equipment should be routinely inspected and safe. Make sure the center actively monitors people as they enter and leave the center or facility to ensure your child's safety. Are back doors locked? What safeguards are in place to prevent missing children? If you're looking into a home-based center, what safeguards are in place to protect strangers from interacting with your children? Make darn sure the center is clean and cleans toys and other frequently used items regularly to reduce illness. Are there policies and procedures in place to address sick children? What type of learning environment does the center provide? Are younger children provided plenty of guidance and one-on-one care? Are the staff trained and supervised well? What type of screening and background checks does the center employ to help protect your children? If hiring your own family caregiver, consider conducting your own background check to ensure their credentials are valid and they have no criminal record. Make sure your provider is trained or skilled at providing care for your children based on your child's age. If a family provider or private sitter, what type of child care experience do they have? If working with a younger provider, like an older child, do they have siblings? Are they comfortable working with children the age of your children? An older child is a great helper and can help busy parents care for children while still managing household duties, so don't discount someone simply because of age or lack of experience. You may be able to guide them while home, especially if you work from home. What type of licenses, if any, does the provider offer? Are they certified in CPR and other child safety methods? Does the center or provider demonstrate flexibility and a willingness to work with you to ensure your child's needs are met and your needs as a parent are met? You should always visit a provider or center before deciding what type of care is best for your children. The best way to make sure you get everything you need to out of a visit is by preparing a checklist ahead of time. Your checklist should include reviewing the following: policies and procedures, staff-to-child ratio, developmental programs, cleanliness of the facility, learning tools and environment, checking references, making sure staff and children frequently wash hands after meals, play, and diaper duty. Make sure the facility has an emergency safety plan in the event of fire or other natural disasters, has an emergency procedure for children who are injured or ill. In summarizing this chapter, it is important if you work, you find safe, healthy, and helpful care for your children. Deciding on a child care provider is a difficult task, but one you can approach with wisdom and knowledge. Remember to always ask friends, family, and neighbors for references when checking out a child care center. Many traditional facilities offer discounts for families that fall within a certain income range. To realize the most success, don't just factor in your budget or your convenience. Consider your child's temperament and decide on a child care option that will help promote your child's happiness, growth, and well-being. Chapter 2. Practical Tips for Parents. Bonding with your children. One of the biggest concerns working parents have is bonding with their children when away from home. Once you decide on the best child care for your child, you then have to find ways to spend quality time with your children. You don't want to sacrifice the quality of care or the quality of time you have with your children. The reality is most people are time pressed. They have a hard time finding ways to bond with their children after a long day. Having to work 40 hours a week or even having to work 30 or more hours every week takes a lot of time away from your family. Some busy parents find they are away from home more often than not, especially if they have to travel for work. How do you manage to still spend time with your children? The good news is there are plenty of ways to spend time with your children even when you are away a lot. What is important are the types of interactions you enjoy with your children, not necessarily the actual hours you spend with your child. Strategy 1. Find quality care. You heard me discuss a lot in Chapter 1 about finding quality care for your children. A good children's center or caregiver will help your child develop, grow, and learn in a safe manner. They can also help you interact with your children in indirect ways. You can help encourage your child's development by becoming more involved in your child's care in many ways. You should feel comfortable forming a relationship with your child's provider or daycare center and routinely work together with your provider to make sure your child's needs are met. The best way to achieve this is by looking for programs that encourage parental participation and offer volunteer or partnering opportunities with parents. How do you know if this is possible? Well, you should feel at ease when communicating with all of your child's caregivers. If the staff at a center are familiar with your child and knows your child's name, chances are they all take an active interest in your child's well-being. You should always feel comfortable asking your provider for feedback and offering feedback about your child. Your child should also adjust to care with relatives' ease and feel comfortable in care. Some centers, like private centers or private caregivers, will allow you to easily check in and even speak with your child to touch base during the day. That's no big deal for them. One way to become more involved in your child's care is to take advantage of parent meetings and fundraisers with your child's center. Find out if your provider or center offers parent get-togethers, where you have a chance to meet with other parents and the staff and talk about your child's comfort, development, and well-being. The more involved you are with the center, the better you will feel about your child's care, and the better you'll be able to influence your child's care. Many centers offer programs for parents after hours. This provides you the opportunity to take part in your child's care even after work. Most of these opportunities are timed for busy parents between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. If your center doesn't offer a program like this, well, find out if you can volunteer to head a committee and start your own. Get other parents involved. A quality child care center will also keep you up to date about developmental milestones that your child has achieved and ask you questions about how to best care for your child. This will help you stay on top of your child's well-being and progress and help you make important decisions that will affect your child's health, your child's safety, and successful development. Strategy 2, get up early. Many parents find they're rushed in the early morning. It takes time to get young children up and ready for care, and a lot of time to get ready for work. The later you get up, the less time you have to coordinate. If you manage to get up even 15 minutes earlier every day, you can actually set aside this time to bond with your children. Don't spend the extra time cleaning or taking care of household tasks. No, instead, sit down with your child. Tell him or her what your plans are for the day and check in with them. Ask them about their dreams the night before or what exciting things they plan to do for the day. Here are a couple of ways to bond with young children before work or daycare. Read a short book with kids. Have them point to pictures. Spend a little bit of time rolling on the floor together, acting silly and goofy. If nursing or bottle feeding a baby, take a little extra time to rock together before leaving for work during the day. Leave an old t-shirt behind or other item your baby can snuggle with that smells like you to help remind them of you during the day. Sounds a little bit unusual, but you know what? It really does work. Leave your child a lovey or cuddly toy that they can have close at hand for comfort while you're away. Make sure you leave a picture of you and your child or children at your child's daycare center or at home with your nanny or other provider. This will greatly help remind your child of you while you're not there. If your children are older, you can have a checklist ready for them in the morning so they have a lot of things they can do to help get you all ready and out the door. This decreases the amount of time and effort that you're going to spend getting your children ready for school, and it really can help you spend a little bit more time together. Here are a couple of easy ways to bond with older children before work or school. Have your child help you pick your work outfit for the day, then do the same for them. Eat breakfast together. Allow your child a limited family cell phone and call them during your lunch break or after school to check in with them. Make lunch for your child the night before and leave a personal message for your child on their napkin. Ask your child if they have any exciting plans for the day. If they don't share with you willingly, tell them all about your exciting plans for the day and what you plan to do with your child when you get home. This sends an indirect message that you are concerned about your child. You love your child, and you will think of your child during the day, even when away. There are also plenty of after work and after daycare activities you can incorporate into your schedule to bond a little bit better with your children. Remember, many centers offer get-togethers that provide you the opportunity to meet with other parents. Most of these events are scheduled after work hours. Bring your children with you to help you feel comfortable. Ask your children who their friends are. Take a little time to get to know the parents of your child's friend. This simple act shows your child you are interested in learning more about them, what is important to them, and who is important in their life. On the weekends, invite your children's friends over. This will help your children bond with others and help them recognize you care about their interests. When you reach out to other busy parents, you also send a message to your children that it is good to seek support and counsel with others. Your children will develop better communication and socialization skills and pass all of these skills on to others as they continue to age. Get rid of the television. You don't even have to get rid of your television entirely, but you know what? You should rely on your television a little bit less than you probably do. Too many people rely on the television for downtime. The problem with television is it doesn't naturally encourage communication and or interaction. Communication and interaction is key for your child's development. Part of the reason so many parents have a difficult time bonding with their children is that they rely too much on the tube. If your child spends their day after school watching television or playing video games and you do the same, you won't even have any time to spend with one another. Television dramatically cuts back on the time you have for one another and may actually lead to problems down the line. Even preschool programs can lead to problems in children. While they do provide plenty of helpful and useful information, children learn to rely on television rather than play or conversation and socialization for entertainment. Television is something that should be used sparingly rather than primarily. If your children watch more than 1 hour of television per day, they may be getting too much. Interestingly, most studies suggest children watch as much as 2 to 4 hours a day or more of television. Even young preschoolers are watching up to 2 hours or more of television every single day. If you have very young children, you may find television wires them up at the end of the day. Instead of watching television, plan to spend some quality time with your children. You may run around and chase a ball together, or make a point to eat dinner together without the television and talk about your day. If you have older children that are engaged in sports or other activities, go along with them to games and talk with them before and after. This allows you plenty of time to bond with your children. How to get your children to respond positively. Some parents find as their children age, it really becomes a little bit more challenging to talk and bond with them. While younger children are often eager and excited to talk about their day, older children are less willing to do so. Some children will only grunt or offer one-word responses when you inquire about their day. Believe it or not, there are ways to get through to your kids. One of the simplest things you can do is to tell your children about your day. If your child responds with fine when you ask them how their day was, tell them about something funny or unusual that happened during your day. Many parents also have a tendency to judge their children's comments, activities, or revelations about their day. Try to refrain from doing so if your goal includes getting your child to open up to you. Instead, listen intently about what your child has to say. Let them know you are interested, whether or not you agree with them. Make a point to actively engage and not interrupt your child, just as you would an adult. Remember, children deserve the same respect adults do when engaged in conversation. The harder you work to treat your child like an individual deserving of your respect and admiration, the more they will come to trust you. Strategy 3. Be with your child even when you're away. It's often hard to be away from your children, especially when you are young. The good news is you can find ways to be with your child even when you are away. Young children especially enjoy pictures of their parents or family when mom or dad is away. Provide them a little snippet to carry with them in a lock set or paste to their locker or a wall. Check in with older children during the day by calling in. If you can arrange your lunch schedule accordingly, consider making a lunch date occasionally with your older children. This works even for young teens. While their child may grunt and groan of embarrassment as they do grow older, the fact is, you are creating a bond that will last a lifetime. You should also make a point to tell young children exactly what you plan to do during the day and when you plan to see them again. Honesty is always the best policy. Young children have remarkably great memories. They also do very well with routines. If you find your little one has a hard time leaving you when you drop them off at school, create a routine. Tell them ahead of time what you plan to do during the day. Point to the clock. Tell them what time you plan to pick them up and what you plan to do with them when you do. Are you going to cook dinner together? Will you go to the park and play? Then make a point when you pick your child up to point to the clock and say, "See, I told you I'd be here at 3. This will get your child into a routine and help them understand that when you are away, you are still thinking of them and will come back. You may be surprised to find your child reminds you of your schedule. Hey, aren't we supposed to go to the park? So don't make up any activity you don't plan to follow through with. You can also play games with your children when dropping them off so they feel a little bit better about leaving you for the day. If your child is shy, for example, tell them to shoo the shy bug away. Then pretend you're swatting a fly away. This works very well for young kids and preschoolers that are shy about leaving home or attending classes. Make sure there is plenty of laughing and giggling involved. When your children recognize that you're having fun and not worried about leaving them, they will lighten up a little bit and chances are enjoy their day a lot more. The more you cling to your children, the more difficult it is for both of you, believe it or not. So don't make a big deal of it. Make it a game. Another way to bond with your children is to come up with a secret code or phrase that lets them know you love them. This works real well for older children that may be a little bit shy about saying I love you in front of friends when older or when you call to check in with them. Develop your own secret code, secret handshake, whatever it takes. Strategy 4, become a strategic partner. If your children are in school, you should plan to strategically partner with your child's teacher and school to help ensure your child's needs are met. Are you on top of your child's homework? Do you know about any problems they're having in school? Who are your children's friends and their parents? Make a point to get in touch with your child's caregiver or teacher regularly to check in. Is your child acting out of the ordinary? Since society is so busy these days, more and more parents are finding it convenient to email teachers and even daycare providers to check in with their children. Most people have time during the day for a quick note to check in. Make a point to also thank your caregivers often for the hard work they offer and the excellent care they give your children. They are a little bit more apt to provide your children attention and pay attention to your needs, inquiries, and any favors you may have along the way. If your child care provider, center, or school has parenting activities or networking opportunities, volunteer your time when possible, even if that's the only chance a month or once every couple of months, so you take an active role in your child's development, health, and well-being. This is especially important if you notice your child starts having a couple of problems or exhibits behavioral troubles at school. You'll have to work closely with your child's provider or caregiver to help uncover the root of any problems that do happen to exist. In summarizing this chapter, there are many ways busy parents bond with their children. Far too many parents worry that they work too many hours to really bond and communicate with their children. Realistically, however, even the busiest parents can provide loving, caring, and supportive environments for their children to grow and prosper in. When you do have time to spend with your children, take time to actively listen to them. Take time to explore their interests, wants, and needs. Turn off the television. Take time out to talk with each other, to eat together, and to enjoy one another's company. The key to building your credibility and sincerity as a mom or dad will be your role in facilitating your child's growing friendships and relationships. Take time on weekends to meet with your child's friends and their parents, whether from school or daycare. This will help your child learn to form their own successful relationships as they grow and develop. Chapter 3, Tips for the Forgotten Spouse. Far too often these days in the global society in which we live, parents must travel. This can be very hard on children who long to see their parents every single day. It's also very hard on parents. The good news, even if you are frequently away, there are ways to bond with your child. This chapter focuses on tips for the traveling parent, but also for the parent at home with the child or children. The goal of this chapter is teaching you ways to create a successful, happy, and stable family unit, bonding with children while away. Many parents today travel for work, so if you don't feel you're alone. Still, other spouses find they handle most of the child care duties as their partner travels frequently. Sometimes this leads to forgotten spouse syndrome, but it doesn't have to. Does your partner frequently travel? Many parents find it very difficult to cope with the demands of parenting and work when their partner is frequently on the road. Here's how you can make up for lost time in your partner's absence. Avoid the forgotten parent syndrome by adopting these simple time-honored strategies and rituals. Telephone. Make a point to phone your partner while away. Do this when your children are readily available and can talk with your partner. This applies even if your children are young. Even young kids, including 1-year-olds, recognize their parents' voices on the phone. Hold the phone up to their ear and let your partner talk with them. It doesn't matter if your child talks back. They will probably smile and giggle with delight at the sound of their parent. Internet. Thanks to modern technology, even parents that are away can now spend face-to-face time with their children. There are many inexpensive web devices, including webcams that you can set up that will allow you to connect with a traveling partner. Set up a webcam and watch it work while it records your partner live from a remote location. It's like having a phone conversation with your partner, only they are right there on your computer screen. This is a great way for parents and children to interact when one partner is out of touch. You can also use the internet to schedule live chat sessions with your partner. Teens and young adults are especially interested and well-versed in internet IMs or instant messages and chat rooms. Schedule a time each night or every couple of nights your partner is away where you and your child can chat with your partner. Be sure your partner asks your child about their day and tells your child something interesting about theirs. This will allow you to spend quality one-on-one time with your children even if you aren't actually present. Email is still another way to stay connected. While, it isn't as flexible as having a chat or instant message session, it still pretty much allows you and your children to shoot an instant picture or message to your partner. Many parents find it helps the traveling partner if the partner staying home takes digital photos and uploads and emails them to the traveling parent. The traveling parent can do the same. This helps family members stay connected and helps put a smile on the face of those far away. It takes just a minute to upload a digital photo, and you can get an inexpensive digital camera anywhere these days. Even a rookie can figure out how to do it, though chances are your 12-year-old can figure it out if you can't. Remember, most children these days are more technologically advanced and inclined than many parents give them credit for. Use the web to your advantage. Use it to connect to your partner while you're away. You can even have dinner together while your partner is traveling if you take advantage of tools including instant messaging, webcams, email, and chat sessions. Tips for the parent at home. If you're the parent that stays home with your children while your partner travels, you may find it helpful to hire a mommy or daddy helper while your partner is away. This can be an older neighborhood child or college student that helps you clean or prepare dinner, so you can enjoy some quality time with your children and some alone time if you need it when your partner is away. One of the biggest challenges the parent not traveling has is often juggling all of the household and child care duties, including shuffling kids to and from school or after-school programs without the help of the spouse. Don't go it alone. You will find you are too tired to enjoy your children if you do. Instead, have someone come in for an hour or two, to help with chores or even help you entertain the kids. You'll find you get much more out of your day, relax more, and spend more quality one-on-one time with your kids if you do. You'll also have less mess to worry about when your partner is away. If your partner simply works late but doesn't work far away, see if you can schedule a time to drop in and bring the kids with you, maybe during a lunch break or dinner break before an evening meeting. This will provide you the opportunity to connect with your partner briefly and allow the kids a little bit of time to have some one-on-one time with your partner, even if they are away most of the night. What are some other strategies you can adopt to make life a little bit easier? Well, here are a couple of ideas. Have your traveling partner pick a book for your children's bedtime. When reading the book, let them know your partner picked it just for them. If your children are older, have your partner call them to wish them a good night or talk to them about their day. Let them chat or email the missing parent. Make a point when your partner is home or not traveling to connect as adults. Schedule a date night or date lunch. Too many people think they have to have a date night to connect. What's the harm in getting together for lunch? You'll find new ways to connect with your partner and share your struggles during the day. You'll also find your relationship a little bit stronger for the time you spend together, and your children will pick up on this. Avoid airing your complaints about the day in front of your partner. This sends a negative message to the kids. Instead, when you do have time together, engage in relaxing and fun conversation. Keep the serious talk to when the kids are not around, in order to set a good example for them. In summarizing this chapter, many parents have to be away for work in contemporary society. It isn't uncommon for a mom or a dad to be gone for a week at a time or more. Parents who are military parents may be gone even longer than that. The key to bonding with children in these cases is establishing open lines of communication. Thanks to modern technology, there is no reason parents today can't simply get in touch with their family at a moment's notice. You can call, email, chat, or even use a webcam to pop in on your family while you're away. The best way to create a sense of family and establish a strong bond with your partner and children is to set up a routine when your partner is away. Plan to touch base with each other every day. If this isn't possible, schedule dates on the calendar when you can. When your partner is not traveling, be sure you spend a little bit of time enjoying one another as much as you do your children. This will ensure the two of you commit to a healthy and happy relationship, providing a strong model for successful partnerships for your children. Start thinking outside of the box, like having lunch together, or even breakfast or a little snack, to make some time for each other during the day, even if it is just for 10 minutes. Chapter 4. How to stay in touch with your child during school. At some point or another, all children reach an age when they start going to school. For busy parents, this is a mixed blessing. While you may no longer have to worry about primary child care, you may find as your children become a little bit more involved in school, they spend even less time at home. How do you continue to form good relationships with your children? When children are old enough to attend school, you may find you struggle a little bit more than ever to spend quality time with your children. Many parents find working impedes their ability to attend all school functions. How do smart parents cope and adapt? How do they find ways to participate in their children's schooling? It really is much easier than you think. Flexible work scheduling. More and more organizations are cluing in to the unique needs parents have. More and more companies are offering flexible work schedules to parents with young children. If you find you aren't able to attend your child's after-school events, plays, or functions, talk to your boss about a flexible work schedule. Many are open to adjusting hours or having parents come in early or stay late other days so they can attend important school events or care for sick children. If your company doesn't currently offer a flexible work schedule, talk to other parents in your company. See if you can't get a petition or movement going to help encourage your human resources department to consider more parent-friendly policies. Set kid dates. Just as it is important you spend time with your partner, it's really important you schedule dates with your children. Schedule a kid date with each of the kids, together or separately, at least once a month. Make sure there are no distractions during this time. One of the best ways to fit this into your child's school schedule is by setting a lunch date with them. Pop in during your lunch break at work. If you have a distance to travel to work, see if you can take a half day once a month to pick your kid up from school and have lunch with them. Then plan an exciting event after school. Family mini vacations. Family vacations are another great way to spend time with children. Far too often people spend their vacations catching up on more work or sitting in front of the television. Make sure you take at least a couple of days every few months to plan a little mini family vacation. Gather your kids, go somewhere your children choose to go. This offers them a choice and shows them you respect their budding intelligence and interest as they grow and change. You also get the chance to spend more time with your kids without investing a lot of time or a lot of effort into planning a complicated vacation. You don't have to do anything expensive. If your school-age children have a habit of picking out expensive or complicated things to do, offer them a choice of a couple of different mini vacation activities. That way they still have some say in the matter, but you don't have to worry about breaking the bank. Make a point to connect with teachers. Teachers visit with children sometimes more often than parents during the school years, or at least it seems that way. If you want to bond with your kids and make a difference in their life and their personal satisfaction, make a point to get to know their teachers. A good teacher can actively set the stage for developmental success. They often can also pinpoint or spot problems with your child early on. Before you even know it, most schools offer parent-teacher conferences. If these formal events do not coincide with your schedule, contact the teacher. Find out if you can set up a time to talk with them. Most have flexible office hours they can schedule to work with you independently. Don't even miss out on parent-teacher meetings. If you have your own observations about unusual goings-on in your child's life, point them out to the teacher. If your family recently experienced a stressful event, inform the teacher so you can work together as partners to support your child and help them through this stressful time. Teachers are a wonderful resource for busy parents. They may also be able to point you to community resources to help actively engage you and your children. In summarizing this chapter, parents have many opportunities to bond with their school-age children. If your children are in school, make a point to take time out of your day to ask them about their successes, concerns, fears, interests. Talk to your child every day if you can. Schedule lunch dates with your children. Take some time out to spend mini vacations with your children. Many vacations don't involve too much time or effort and provide a simple way to get away from the stresses of work while focusing on your children. Remember, it doesn't always take grand gestures to make a big difference. Many vacations and other small efforts can make a big impact in your child's life. They also send a message to your children that you are interested in their livelihood, their success, and their future. Do not even forget to take advantage of teachers and other valuable resources in your children's life. Teachers can often offer insights about children's behavior or spot problems early on. They can also direct you to community resources for busy parents and families or crisis centers during times when your child or your family may be undergoing unusual stress and need some support and guidance. Chapter 5. When your child feels forgotten. Every parent's worst fear is their children will feel forgotten, or that they will actually forget something important in their child's life. The way children feel when they are away from their parents varies depending on their age, of course, their experience, and the amount of time that they do get to spend with their parents overall. This chapter will help provide you with tools to help your children realize that you love and care for them even when you are away or when you must work on important occasions. It will also provide you with concrete examples of what to do when you slip up, forget a birthday, or experience some other event that may at the time of occurrence seem tragic. Let's begin by talking about your children's anxiety. Separation anxiety. It's very common in young children attending daycare, preschool, and even kindergarten. Interestingly enough, parents often have as hard a time of coping with this as do children. The good news is you don't have to bribe your children to make them feel happy or to make you feel better. As a matter of fact, this is usually the worst step you can take. Here is a common scenario parents of young children deal with every single day. They introduce their child to a daycare or child care facility. The child seems fine, enthusiastic, and excited. But when the time comes for the parent to leave, their child starts sobbing. They cling to their parent. They wail inconsolably. This makes it very difficult for parents to leave, so what can you do? First, it's important as a parent you realize this is a relatively common event. You shouldn't feel that your child's reaction results from anything you did wrong. Instead, it's important you simply realize children are full of emotion. Your child may not initially understand that you are coming back and may be frightened by the prospect of a new activity. They will, in all likelihood, though, have a very good time and experience once you leave. So, how do you cope with it in the short term? First, you should realize that your child has to understand that you're going to be back and it's safe for them to have fun in school. What you can do is go in with your child, introduce her to interesting things around the classroom, and then relax. If you tense up, your child will pick up on this, sense danger, and cry even more. You can also bring your child in early and give them some time to settle in while they are adjusting to a new routine until they figure out they do like going to school or daycare. Another approach is asking your child's teacher for some help. Teachers can intervene as can daycare providers to ease the transition. Make sure your child's care provider is alert to your child's temperament, likes, and dislikes. Hopefully, you can encourage them to step in, read a book to your child, or offer them a little bit of personal attention to help them feel more comfortable. It's important you keep in touch with teachers and care providers to make sure they're meeting your child's needs to the best of their ability. Earlier in this audio ebook, we also talked about pointing out to your child the exact time you'll be back to check in with them and make sure things are okay. If you plan to pick up your child, for example, at 6, let them know. Point to the clock or provide them a little wristwatch that highlights the hour you'll come back to get them. This helps reconfirm your child's safety and security. It's really important, and it allows them to know you're going to be back to get them after a short time. Don't forget to speak of daycare or school in a positive light. Many parents raise happy, healthy, secure children by clapping and singing on the way to daycare. This helps reinforce the idea that going to school or daycare is something enjoyable rather than burdensome. Remember, do as much as you can to bond with your children and remain calm and positive when dropping them off. Don't fret, because this will only upset your child more. Encourage your child's caregivers to step in and lend you a helping hand when needed. When you miss an important event, what to do? As your children get older, there will be times there are important games, school get-togethers, or other events your work schedule may interfere with. The worst crimes parents report committing is forgetting important events like a birthday. For older children, this can lead to a sense of abandonment, fear, or trust issues. So, what do you do to address the situation and reestablish a strong bond with your child? The first step is acknowledging a mistake if you make it. In the unfortunate event you do miss a birthday because you forgot, let your child know you made a mistake. Ask them what you can do to make up for it. Then, do not make that mistake again. Highlight important dates like recitals, birthdays, anniversaries on your calendar. Have your secretary call you. Do anything and everything you can. Have your partner call you. Now, if you're traveling out of town or working late, sometimes missing a birthday or other event just can't be helped. In this case, try to set up a time you can celebrate with your child when you're at home, before or after your trip or work session. Make an important point to make this occasion special. Spend some one-on-one time with your child. Above all else, even if you do celebrate the event on a different day, if working late or out of town, call, email, or contact your child in some sort of way so they know that you are thinking of them. If you have the resources, send them balloons at the house or a singing telegram. Anything that lets them know they're on your mind. Include a favorite picture of you and your child. Young children appreciate webcams. You can then sing Happy Birthday live and chat with your child. You can also chat with older children on the web, pre-record a video message that allows you to sing Happy Birthday with your child during their party. If you miss a school event, like a recital or something similar, ask someone if they can record it for you, and then watch it with your child later on. Be sure to point out what a spectacular job they did. Comment on their technique, the music, their win or loss. Make it a big event. You can even bring out some snacks, popcorn, pizza. Make it a grand affair. Relive the experience. That way, you're not left always apologizing for not being there. Instead, you are actively engaging your child, even if it is at a separate time than the event itself. Promises, promises. One of the best ways to ruin your credibility with your children is to make promises that you can't keep. You may intend to keep your promise. You may want to try to make it to your child's recital or soccer game. However, if you aren't 100% sure that you can make it, whatever you do, do not even make a promise. A better approach is telling your child right up front that you very much want to participate and that you will try to make it. Explain to them the reason that may prevent you from attending. Let them know if you will be late. Also reveal to them that you will make it up to them. Have your partner videotape the game. Make sure for the next event you ask your boss to leave work a little bit early or try a flexible scheduling opportunity. It's really important you make time for your family and your children. No one walks around saying they wish they worked more. Many people, however, wish they spent more time with their children. Remember, kids grow up really fast, so if you do have opportunities to move things in your schedule around, do your best to attend as many events as possible. Try to schedule events like parties around your schedule so you don't miss out on important events. Let's face it, children are very sensitive. They are also very smart. You want to be sure your children realize they are a priority, not work. Therefore, you have to make an effort sometimes to go above and beyond the call of duty to schedule time to take part in your children's lives when they're young, because eventually they will move on and have their own lives. In summarization of this chapter, no parent wants to make the mistake of forgetting their child, and no parent wants their child to feel forgotten. Remember, children are smart. They're sensitive. They remember. Don't make promises you may not be able to keep. Make sure you schedule important dates on your calendar. Above all else, it's important you are always open and honest with your children. Everyone makes mistakes. Let your children know you love them, and they are a priority. The more consistently you make an effort, are honest, and work to communicate with them regularly, the more forgiving they're going to be. Chapter 6, Quality Time with Kids. Strategies for spending quality time with kids. Many parents have a bunch of ideas about what quality time is and isn't. What is important is that you spend time communicating and interacting with your children. This includes finding ways to talk with your children and actively listening. If you spend all of the time you have with your kids parked in front of the television, chances are you aren't spending quality time with them. However, it isn't so much about quality as it is just spending time enjoying one another. Take some time out to take an active interest in what your kids are doing. Is your child a new fan of electronics? Are they an iPod addict? Do they love internet chatting? Ask them what they like about it. Ask them to show you how it works. You may find you enjoy it or not, but more importantly, you are sending the message to your children that you are actively interested in them. You want to learn about them. You want to grow with them. This is the most important step you can take toward building a strong and positive relationship with your children. Don't do too much. Some parents start doing too much to overcompensate for time that they spend away from their children, and they may, for example, sign their children up for multiple sports or activities and actively engage in a lot of activities when they don't have time with the kids. Here's a fact for you. Children do best when they have a little downtime. What isn't important is how many tournaments or sports you can get your child involved in. You don't even want to spend the time you do have with your children carting them from point A to point B. You do need to make sure you have some spare time to hang out with and enjoy your children. Maybe even read together. Maybe you cook dinner together. Do things that allow you to spend time as a family. I once overheard a lady having a conversation about her 2 kids. She worked 45 hours a week, often came home right before the kids went to bed. On Saturday, she was commenting that her daughter just got back from soccer practice. Then they had softball in the afternoon and gymnastics later that day. Where is the downtime involved in that day? When do kids have time to just be kids, to talk with their parents, and to relax a bit? Remember, rest and relaxation is just as important for children as it is for parents. You will also experience unreasonable fatigue if you have to shuffle your children around from point A to point B rather than simply enjoying some quality time with them when you're home. Think those dishes are really that important? Think again. It is far better to have a house full of dirty dishes than it is to neglect your children. Your children will remember the time you spend with them, not the quality of your house cleaning or the amount of dirty laundry you pile up in your laundry room. Ask your child what they want. One of the simplest ways parents can spend quality time with their kids is by simply asking them what they want to do. Too many parents get caught up in deciding this for their children. When was the last time you asked your teen what they wanted to do and reacted with enthusiasm? Even if you are not interested in the same activities as your child, put on a brave front and do something for them. You may find you enjoy yourself a lot more than you think, especially when your child's face lights up with a bright smile. You'll send the message again that your child's interests and activities are important, even if you don't necessarily enjoy the same things. In summarizing this chapter, many parents feel they have to over-parent to compensate for time lost with their children. Realistically speaking, most children would fare much better if parents simply spent some time with them. You don't have to be super parent to really get to know and care for your children well. Take some time out of your day to simply sit and reflect with your children. Try to avoid overscheduling them for activities because ultimately this leads to chaos and confusion. Most children would get far more from their relationships with their parents if they just had the time to spend more quality time with their parents. Frequently asked questions. How much do people pay for child care on average? Government statistics, including those provided by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, suggest as much as 23% of working families spend 50% or more of their income on child care. The National Association of Child Care Resources and Referral Agencies reports while child care is necessary for many families, it's very expensive, resulting in many sacrifices among parents. Poor families are often impacted the most, spending up to 50% of their income on child care for infants. The cost of child care in many states for 2 children can be more than $18,000 every year. Is child care good for my child? Studies suggest good quality child care helps children develop and stimulates their social skills development, learning all while stimulating greater thinking. Why isn't there a national cost for care? Care varies significantly from state to state and region to region. In a rural area, child care for an older child may not exceed $3,000 every year. but infant care in a major metropolitan area may average $14,000 a year. What is the best way to spend quality time with my child? Many parents get wrapped up in thinking they need to spend quality time with their children. What is important is you spend time with your children. Take time to ask your children what they're interested in. Ask them what activities they enjoy and who their friends are. Engage them in a conversation. Turn the television off for a bit and find other ways to communicate and relax or spend time together. Small changes make a big difference in your child's life. How can I connect with my kids at school? More and more these days, children are carrying around cell phones. Why not make some time to call your children? Better yet, make some time to schedule a lunch date with your kid. Older children, teenagers, may react initially with horror, but they will appreciate your efforts to spend some time with them. Schedule in mini vacations. Make a point when away to instant message, chat with, or email your children. If you are not up to date on modern technology, it's time for you to start expanding your horizons. Most children these days use technology day in and day out to communicate. What is to stop you from doing the same? What's the best way to cope with separation anxiety? Separation anxiety in children is difficult. It's more common in young children and may occur frequently from the time your child is a toddler to the age of 3. Some children may continue to feel anxiety shortly after, however. A lot of it depends on your child's personality. You may also feel anxiety on leaving your child at a new daycare center. Fortunately, there are many simple ways you can help minimize separation anxiety. First, when dropping your child off at a new daycare center, arrive early. Take a little bit of time to allow your child to get familiar with their new settings. Remain relaxed and calm yourself, because if not, your child is going to pick up on your anxiety. Take some time to introduce your child to others and show your child how happy you are. When you leave, don't do so with angst in your face. Always give your child a big hug and a kiss and let them know when you're going to be back to pick them up. Older children often benefit by knowing the exact time you'll come pick them up. You can point to the clock and let them know when you're going to be back. Fortunately, most care providers are very accustomed to this phenomenon and can help comfort your children. Many children overcome separation anxiety shortly after they're familiar with their new surroundings. Talk with your care providers about ways you can help reduce your child's anxiety. If you have a home caregiver or babysitter, it may help to leave your child for very brief periods in the care of someone else, then return shortly afterwards. They'll realize it's safe for you to be gone, and even when you're gone, you are going to return. School-age kids who have anxiety may feel better if you take a little bit of time out of your day to phone them and check in with them. If you have anxiety about your children, you can always do the same. If you have some free time on your lunch hour, drop in to see how your child is doing. But if your child is in the early stages of care, you may want to just peek in without disturbing them if they seem fine. You don't want to set off more anxiety by leaving again too soon. Like all things, this too will pass. Smile and comfort your child, and ultimately all will work out for the best.